Thanks for joining us today. Quick heads up, you probably were expecting one of our folks named Avichai. He had a conflict come up, so you're stuck with me instead. I'm Eric De La Fuente. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Partnerships here at Nilus. And the good news is I've got Moshe Simantov with me, our head of AI, who's going to be the real star of the show today with some live demos. So a couple of quick things before we dive in. First, the chat, as you guys have seen, is open the entire time. So if something resonates with you guys, or if you have a question, drop it in there. We'll be keeping an eye on it throughout. And then we also have dedicated Q&A where we'll be answering some of the Q&A questions that you guys submit at the end, where Moshe and I will go through everything. Secondly, we've got a couple of polls sprinkled in. They're quick, they're anonymous, and honestly, they're pretty fun. And it helps us make this more of a conversation and less of a lecture. So please participate in those. Third, if there's anything that we covered today that sparks a thought and you want to dig in a little bit deeper afterwards, there's going to be a way to reach out to us with a QR code and a follow-up email. No pressure at all, but this is meant to be educational. Um, but all right, so here's what we're doing today. We're going to walk through 4 Treasury workflows that I bet most of you guys are still doing pretty manually. And for each one, Moshe is going to show you what it looks like and when an AI agent handles it. Not a concept, we're actually going to get into a real working product. So let's get into it. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so it's Monday morning. There are 12 bank portals, 3 ERPs. There's a board meeting on Thursday, or the PE sponsor wants the 13-week forecast by end of day, and you're one person or a small team. Where do you even start? I'm sure this sounds familiar to a lot of you guys. I bet it does. This is what I hear all the time from Treasury teams constantly. Cash is moving 24/7. Wires are clearing at 2 a.m. FX rates shifting overnight. Maybe a customer's not paying. Your team works 8 to 6, or maybe 8 to 8, if we're being honest. And the gap between the speed of that money and the speed of human decision making is just getting wider and wider, not smaller. But the thing is, the tools that you guys have available or that you've been getting over time are supposed to be getting better. Maybe you moved from Excel to a cloud TMS, or maybe you're still on Excel. But did the actual workload go down? And so for most people that I talk with, the answer is no. Oftentimes it's just nicer dashboards, and now we're just showcasing those problems that we still have to solve manually. And so if you go to the next slide here, Moshe, I think I like breaking down Treasury software into 3 different eras. The first is spreadsheets. We all know this one. It's manual, fragile, personal. If a formula breaks, the whole model cascades. Your best person leaves, and the institutional memory of that person walks out the door with them. In the second era, it's the cloud TMS. This is definitely better. You've got organized data, you've got better dashboards, maybe some APIs connecting to other systems, but the team is still doing all of the work. The software shows you the problem, but it doesn't quite fix it. And then in era 3, and this is where things are starting to get really interesting, this is what people are calling the agentic era. Software that doesn't just display data, but actually does the work on your behalf within the rules that you set. Every action is auditable, every action is reversible. You're not just building the report anymore, you're governing the way that the system builds it. And so, Moshe, you've probably heard this 1,000 times, but I feel like yourself and me, we hear AI pitched all of the time, and most people get confused about it and think it's just a chatbot. But can you walk everyone through what we mean when we say agentic? I think it'd be interesting to hear from you
Yeah,
and how you define it.
yeah. So hi everyone, and I think this is like a good way to separate and framing how the industry was evolved since the launch of ChatGPT like 3 4 years ago to the way we all speaking about agent and everyone want agent and what agent actually does and what's the difference between agent and ChatGPT. So we all know what ChatGPT is. If you're lucky, it's connected to your ERP data, your cash flow, your bank accounts, and you can ask him to have some intelligent question, and you can search around the information you want, and you just get answered. Um, it's useful. It can save you sometimes here and there, but it's just chat. It's just a chat. You can access it. It's another tool in your toolbox, the same as you have like the TMS. You have now a chat. It's a different interface to interact and get the data from. Then we have like the second evolution of the industry, which mainly evolved using Copilot, IDE interfaces. Basically, what it means is you have some sort of workspace like a TMS. And on top of that, you have the chat built in, integrated within the system. It can actually know which screen you're actually using. It can suggest you like a workflow or stuff to do within the screen. It can give you formulas, drafts, help you do like the day-to-day work. And it just stay with you. So you are the pilot, the agent will, the chat will help you to do whatever you want there, but it's still like not fully automated. And then you have the agent. So agent is like the third step in the evolution of that part. And the main difference that the agent can actually take decision for you. The agent usually have a goals. They know what's your preference. You know how usually you do your day-to-day tasks. And from that point on and on, it can run autonomously. It can give you the reports you need, find errors or mistake or anything you need to take care of on a Monday or daily basis, and flag that for you automatically. So if you need to summarize, like we have the chat, which is just an interface, a different way to interact. Then you have the Copilot, which deeper integrated with the system, and then you have an agent which actually can do this stuff for you and actually uh, take decision and understand you better in your workflow in a much deeper way.
Yeah, and I think what most folks are seeing probably in the marketplace today is these legacy, especially with these legacy tools, they're just kind of slapping a chat interface on top of it, or maybe a Copilot navigation kind of aside it. But the thing that really clicked for me, Moshe, when you first explained it to me a while ago, is the difference between a Copilot and an agent, which is the last two categories here, isn't just kind of 10% better. It's the difference between spending, or rather saving, 20 minutes a week versus 20 hours a week. And I think that impact is really substantive, and I'm excited that we're going to get to showcase some of that today. So let's make this real. I think we're going to walk through, I want to say, four workflows today. And for each one, Moshe, I think you've planned to show a version of
Yeah.
what an agent actually looks like. But before we dive into that, let's do a quick poll just for fun. I'm curious, how many bank portals are you guys logging into every morning? So let's take a minute or two to answer. And
Yeah. And while you're answering the poll, I think like the industry is moving like with the launch of agent and now everything is in agent. So every one of us, we are touching AI on a daily basis. And we need to start thinking how many agents we are managing, how much we can automate on a day-to-day basis, how much we can delegate to the AI in order to do our job better. Because all the competitors, everyone else trying to work much faster, to do the work much more efficient. And if we are not going and to do that the better way we can, so the competition will just going to win. So I think that's the change that currently happening in the industry, and everyone start to figure out like, okay, how much I can automate, how much I can delegate those to agents.
yeah, let's see. Did we get the responses in? I don't know how we can see the responses here on the poll. Um, well, maybe there's a button I need to click that I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to do this. Anyways,
Yeah,
let's get into while we wait for that, maybe we'll get into the first use case as that kind of loads.
yeah,
Pull that up. Um, so right now we'll talk about the first use case, and this is the foundation of everything else that I think we're going to be talking about today, which is cache visibility across entities. If you don't know your consolidated cash position in real time, every other decision that you make, whether it's forecasting, investing, funding payroll, etc., it's based on stale data. And the cost of getting it wrong, it's not trivial. So we're talking about 50 to 100K a year in missed overdrafts, idle cash sitting around earning nothing, suboptimal decisions just because the numbers that we were looking at were, 6, 8 hours old. So here's the ritual. You log into each bank portal individually, you download the balances, you paste them to the master spreadsheet or file that you're consolidating all this into. You reconcile it against yesterday's actuals, package it up, and send it to the CFO. For some organizations I talk to, that could be 2 to 4 hours every morning, and especially at companies with 10 plus accounts. But the kicker is by the time that that report reaches the CFO or whoever's reviewing it, the data is already stale. A wire cleared, an ACH came in, and the numbers are wrong. Um, and I hear this all the time. So Moshe, I just described, a couple hours of pain that a lot of organizations that I'm speaking with on the front end are talking about consistently. I'm curious if there's anything you'd add or if you can show us what that would look like when it's not manually anymore.
Yeah, and I think what's also unique about this workflow is that each company is a bit different. Each company need a bit different report. They care about different things, and then you actually need to to compress all the data to the specific report the CFO need. You want it to be real time. You want it to make sure you have the most accurate data, and you want to have it like in one place. You don't want to play around to spend your day just to log into a different system and put everything in the right place, fix those errors of like converting the data from one currency to other, make sure you have all the data in the same format. All those tasks is like very wasteful and can easily be automated by an AI agent. So I want to show you quickly how we're thinking about it when demonstrating that for clients and how we handle that within our Nilus platform. Basically, everything started by a dashboard we have for agent marketplace. And here, what we have, it's like a few suggestions of agents we already have prepared for you when you just sign up to the system and see. But we can also like customize and work with customers, and even you can actually build your own workflows and agent customizable specific for your needs. So here we have an example for a report that's going to generate a global cash visibility. It can take around 60 minutes to run. So I'm going to open one of the previous generated report I just generated here, so we can save a few seconds here. And as you can see, within just one click, I have a full report that's fully customizable for my needs. I can see like all the data I need in one shot, with all the existing subsidiaries and the amount of cash I have on each one of them, break down by bank account and see how much balance I have today on each bank account and how much is of it of the total. If I want to see a breakdown by currency, so I can also see that across all my subsidiary, all the my bank accounts in one click, and just see like, hey, maybe I have too much Canadian dollars. Maybe I want to split it up and move it back to euros or USD because I don't like to have too much Canadian dollars. And again, this is something that always happen within our agent. You always get insights and next steps to do. You can see here, it's immediately figure out that you have or most of the cash is actually on City on Stripe, and it's probably not what you want. You probably want to have a plan how to move this cash around, and you can just, as a next step, just to ask the chat, hey, I want to have a plan to move my cash around between my entities and make sure it's like following the policies we just defined earlier, and it will build you a plan to move the cash around so you can just approve and make sure it's handled across the board. Let me go back to the slide for a second. Um, and back to you, Eric.
Yeah, sure. And while I pull up the poll results, if we can pull those up, Moshe, there's a couple questions in the Q&A that maybe we can answer, but I think everyone can see
No.
the poll results here. It looks like roughly 60% of you guys are logging into 1 to 3, and the rest is kind of spread throughout. Not surprising. I think for most organizations that we're working with, it's usually kind of in that 2 to 10 range. And every single one of those is a separate login or a separate download or a separate copy paste. And so the more of these banks just kind of piles up, the uh, the uh, the more work for the team. Um, but that's kind of how it would look like in Nilus, as Moshe just showed. Moshe, those questions that came in, I'm not sure if you want to answer them live or if you want to answer in the Q&A chat yourself.
Yeah. Actually, I can see it right now. Let me see if I can open it. It's a bit hard when you're sharing. Yeah, I can
Okay,
see.
maybe.
Um,
Yeah, I can prompt you. So one of the questions that came in was how does the agent navigate two-factor authentication in the bank portals?
Yeah, so we are connecting all the bank accounts through SafeGate through Nilus AI. So basically, all the data it's transferred automatically to Nilus via either files or secure connection within the bank. So we have a fresh data on daily basis and either intraday data that's automatically connected to Nilus. We also have ERP connections. So if you have some of the data connected to your ERP, we're automatically fetching that on real-time basis, and it's all available for the agent to use and display the data for you.
Yeah. Another question we got, and Tracy, good to see you again. How is this different than what you have always seen in Nihilus, where it gets your bank data and displays it in many different ways? I think you said it used to be what you saw in a dashboard. I'll answer this one. So what Moshe was showing you, Tracy, and for the rest of the people here, this is where we see the future of Treasury going, is less so about having to log into a portal to see a dashboard and drill into it to get the answer that you're looking for. We still have those views in the platform. We still have the ability to kind of showcase a consolidated dashboard view of where everything sits today. But what we're trying to indicate is if there's a more precise question that you're trying to answer by logging in and seeing the dashboard, maybe there's interest in a specific entity or a specific account or a specific transaction. Instead of drilling through all of the different components of the dashboard, you could just ask the question to the agent and it'll pull that information for you in the format that you're looking for. So that's the difference, Tracy. But we still have those dashboard views. We'll get to some of these other questions here in a minute. Let's move on to the next slide here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, case two, and this is one that is going to hit home for anyone who's ever prepped for a board meeting or an executive meeting, forecast stress testing. Um, how many downside scenarios are you guys modeling before your last board meeting or before that meeting? For most teams I've talked to, it's zero, and it's not because they don't want to; it's because it just takes so long. And so what happens if the CFO walks in and with a single point forecast, they're basically crossing their fingers and hoping for the best. Um, and so if you go to the next slide, every CFO has been asked, these three questions. What if collections slip 15%? What if our biggest customer delays 30 days? Can we absorb a rate hike on the revolver? Today, answering any one of these means opening up the forecast spreadsheet, manually tweaking assumptions, tracing the downstream impact, and hoping you didn't break the formula. So it can take hours depending on how the spreadsheets are or the forecasts are organized. But in practice, it just really doesn't happen. And so the real risk isn't the scenario itself, it's the fact that nobody modeled it. It's these surprises, or what's killing surprises aren't what kill treasury teams. It's surprises that they never stress tested and never prepared for. And so I would ask this to anyone in the room as you think about the next piece of the webinar. When your PE sponsor, when your executive, or when whoever you're responsible to asks, "What if revenue comes in 20% light next quarter?" How long does it take you to answer that question? And think about that as we go through the next piece. So Moshe, this might be, for me at least, the most eye-opening demo we've got. And maybe show us how you would answer that question and get a response back,
Yeah,
or how you do it.
I think that the main difference here is like you need to come up with the questions. You usually like know what your CFO usually going to ask you. You want to prepare and to have those reports ahead of time if you have the time. And as you mentioned, like most of us don't have the time even to get there and actually to figure out all these edge cases. But with an agent, you actually don't. You're waiting of some of them, but the agent can service you like even more edge cases we were never thought about because agent have full visibility of all transactions, all the history that happened, all the data within your ERP and your bank accounts, and actually understand and can get some patterns within your history to figure out like what can go wrong, what's in the history in the past 13 weeks, in the past year go wrong, and how we can predict that and prepare for that currently. Um, and the way we do that, it's so we basically have again on our agent marketplace, we have an agent that specifically um, plan to help you with stress testing your forecast. It's can just give you like the start of give me the ideas and how to we're going to open the prepared one. So you can just see like how it's looked like after it's running for several minutes to generate the report. Basically, it's deliberately a bit open just to figure out what's going to go wrong, how the cash flow and the forecast currently behave, and what's how we can adjust it over different use cases. And you can also ask it specific questions, like for example, what happened if my collection will drop? What happened if I'm going to miss those and those payments from those clients, or if my vendors need to have a new contract and I need to pay them a bit earlier or different agents. So what you can see here, it's basically the agent automatically go over all the data and try to figure out like, okay, what's the last month average? What's the quarter average that you usually have? How it's compare to other metrics we have in the system, and give you some insight about, okay, what's the initial places we start going to look into. So you can see here collection is usually within the range for these specific ones. But for example, vendors are actually very 41% drop since the Q average. And this is actually can reflect by deferred payable that we actually didn't pay, and we need to adjust the forecast to address them. All of that, it's fully automatic, and you can actually customize that for your specific context needed that happen within your business. Like if you have like specific entities that you want to care more details about it, and they can want to actually look through specific counterparties and agreements you have there to make sure you have enough um, cash to pay all the bills, and actually the forecast actually go down to these details. You can actually ask the agent to do that for you, and you will get the details report that can give you all the information in one click. This is but just one example of the report that can give you like initial insight about it, but there's many other options and way to see the data and consume it and actually make sense out of it.
Yeah, a lot of really good questions here. I was trying to answer as many as I could while you were talking, Moshe, but thanks for walking us through that. Just a handful that seem to be consistent across. Moshe, I'll give my response, and then if there's anything you would add, let me know. But a lot of questions around the connectivity, how we're pulling in the data, whether or not an organization still needs to pay for kind of the file transfer and what the agent is actually doing. And so what I described, Moshe, was the three different ways that we're connecting to banks right now: API, SFTP, and then the view-only access, which I think you were talking about earlier. Um, some of the questions around that specifically are, what is the agent actually doing? And then secondly, how does the agent know if new bank accounts are added or if it's matching whatever's in the GL? Can you shed some light on some of those things?
Yeah, of course. So basically, the agent always have access to real life data. Immediately when you connect a new bank account, the agent will know that there is a new bank account. And if you pull up all the history, you will have the history as well. And if not, that's fine. You will start gathering data from that point and so on. And the agent will automatically understand the context about, okay, this new bank account is a bank account that we opened recently, but we have all the history for the last few months. And we can start getting the data and collecting that and adding that for all the calculations we have. Regarding GL accounts, so basically because we are connecting both to the ERP and the bank accounts on both sides, we can actually infer the GL accounts and do the automatic matching between GL accounts to the transaction on the bank level account. And we understand that by learning from the history on your ERP data, understand how you usually tag your transaction, how usually it's happened behind the scene in the ERP, and then the agent will automatically pick it up and continue from there.
Yeah, thanks for that, Moshe. One other question I'll answer before we move on to the next one. Tracy, another question from you on the additional insights you mentioned around the forecast, but you still want to see a traditional view where you can see all the data. And your question was, does the agent update a regular forecast view in the system, or do you only have the view that Moshe was showing earlier in the AI area? So both, right? So again, it's the same thing as before in Moshe. Maybe it'll make sense to kind of flash the one of the dashboards the next time that we're going through the product
Yeah.
again. But Just so you know, like all of the things that we're showing, this is how we would interface with an agent, Tracy, and for everyone else. But the traditional dashboard views still exist. We know that Treasury teams likely are still very comfortable in kind of their records and fields, and they want to see spreadsheet views and they want to see graphs and charts. Like we have all of that in the platform. What we're trying to showcase here is how an agent, how you would interact with an agent instead of having to dig through all of those things yourself. So we understand that'll take time, which is why we have both. But I hope that answers your question, Tracy.
Yeah, and I will add that also because we have the agent aware of everything we have in the system in these dashboards, you can actually ask the agent to make changes within the forecast and actually update it as you find new findings. You will see it like in the next use case we're just going to demo here. So it's all connected. You can still use the old screens and the forecast to see your data how you used to do, but you also can convert and actually start using agent and customize and see only the data you care the most about and take action much quicker that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on to the next use case. And I'm trying to answer these questions, guys, but if I miss one, just feel free to send it again. Definitely want to get all these questions answered. Love the engagement, by the way. Appreciate it. Okay, use case three. And this is the one I think everybody in the room is going to relate to, which is variance analysis. So every week, every month, same ritual. You're pulling last period's forecast, you're pulling actuals from the ERP, you're lining them up in Excel, finding the biggest gaps, and then trying to spend hours to figure out the why. And the why is always the hard part, right? A 500K miss, it could be one customer paying late, a batch of disputed invoices, or maybe just a timing shift on something like a payment run. So finding the root cause means digging through subledgers, calling AR, cross-referencing bank statements, etc. So this could add up, right? 6 to 10 hours a month potentially. And honestly, the output is usually a backwards looking narrative that doesn't improve the next forecast. And for those of you with PE sponsors, right, the stakes are even higher. They don't just want to hear what happened. They want to know what did you learn and what changed. So that's what we're focused on here, from what happened to what changed in the model. Instead of a flat table of numbers, you get driver level attribution. Collections were 400K below forecast, and it tells you exactly why. 300K because customer X paid 12 days late, 100K from disputed invoices in entity B. But the part that gets interesting is it doesn't just stop at the explanation. It actually detects that customer X has paid late in 3 of the last 4 weeks. That's not just a one-time thing, that's a pattern. And so it starts to recommend adjusting your collection timing assumption going forward. And that's the difference between a dashboard that just shows you that the gap exists and an agent that explains it and then does something about it. So Moshe, can you walk us through this one? Because I think this one really lands when you actually accept the recommendation and the way things move.
Yeah, so and as you said, this is one really exciting because it's take a lot of time to actually figure out like what's the needs of bits of what's changed and what happened every week, every day. And some clients do it like every Monday, some clients want to do it every day, and this is a process that take a lot of time to actually understand what you missed, how you can learn from that in the past history, and to get the insights in the right way. Um, I want to emphasize that you're still in control. You can still guide the agent and get additional context to that and see what's the best recommendation you want to take from that and actually apply on your forecast. But it's going to save you a lot of time just to see all the recommendations, see what makes the most sense of you, and then apply those through you. So let's jump quickly for our demo here for the forecast accuracy. So in this use case, basically, we run the agent for a couple of minutes, and we ask you to basically run through the forecast for the last 4 weeks and figure out like what's the variances. So we are comparing what happened in the forecast versus the actuals, and we try to figure out like what we missed, what happened wrong within our forecast, so we can actually detect that and make some decision afterwards. Um, so here we'll see like on our collections, we have like a huge drop. We estimated to have like 6 million and we only have like around 1 million. And the agent actually broke it down for a specific period. You will be able to see like for the last 4 weeks, those are the weeks that make the most of the changes. And specifically, this corporation actually didn't pay on time. You can see here, it actually detect that the invoice was moved from the middle of the month to the end of the month. And this is one of the main reasons that the payment was delayed, and it can correspond with the most of the changes here. Um, so that's like you get it like immediately without do anything. You just figure the agent. It will do all the research behind the scene, figure out which invoices were paid, which was not. If there is a change in the date, anything that happened within the scene, you can always connect that to different data sources within your company to actually get more information and actually get the full picture of whatever happened and change here in order to get the actual picture. So I think most of you will invest a lot of time just to get this report ready and understand actually what happened, why you get those changes and get the exact explanation for each counterparty and category and how it's breakdown. And beneath that, you're going to have here also some recommendations. For example, you can see here that software actually had a big jump in the last months. And it's probably something you want to actually send an email to your R&D team and actually ask them, do you expect to have like AWS and Google Cloud to be increased in the same rate over uh, the next month, or just one time because they have some AI experience or whatever they did there. And we're actually working on with integrating that within your uh, organization email system. So in the future, in the very near future, we will actually can suggest the agent to this investigation by himself and actually uh, contact key people within the organization to collect this data or connect to Slack and actually complete the investigation completely by himself to actually understand what's the future estimation of the, for example, the software expenses we have in the company. Um, as usual, if you're happy or you want to actually update the forecast, so the agent automatically going to ask you to update the forecast on the view and want to show you how it's look like within our existing um, dashboard in Nilus. So you can see here we have the forecast view, which going to display by week all the, and again you can change it if you want it to by day, by month, by week and see the forecast, how it's evolved in real time for the next few weeks. And also, you can see here that the chat interface will actually ask you to make changes to your forecast, update the numbers here, create new formulas, and make it more accurate for the latest finding you just figure out with the agent.
Yeah, a lot of really good questions. And so Tracy, just to go back to what you were asking earlier, I hope that forecast view, I think, kind of answers the question of do you still have, the typical dashboards and views that you would expect? And the answer was yes, as Moshe just showed you. But specific to Moshe, what you were just showing, there's a handful of questions. And maybe you can, well, maybe it's more generic, but maybe you can answer some of these. The first one is, what benefit does Nilus AI provide versus feeding the variance analysis data through an enterprise LLM like Claude?
Yeah, so I think Claude has like great capabilities, and we also use Claude behind the scenes for our own use cases. But what Claude can do, it's actually to be really integrated and customized for your data. So what we work really hard on our day-to-day basis, it's actually to make Claude actually understand your data in a deeper level. So it's not just investigating your variance analysis, actually gather all the history, what happened in the last year, understand like from previous prompt you have to the agent, what he learned from you, and remember that. So next time you're going to ask him to do some variance analysis or to figure out like if this specific customer actually pay late or just one time, and actually can understand the context and search from different layer of your data to gather this information when you're just using Claude. So you just have like, you need to repeat yourself each time and get the same prompt over and over just to get like a small bits and bytes getting to work there, which in Nihilus, we actually make the work for you and make the system smarter over time.
Yeah. A couple more questions. We'll get to these here in a second, but let's flip to the next case, which I think is oh no, it's a poll.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have a
So
poll here.
yes. Okay, great. So one more poll then before our last use case. I'm curious about this one actually. How do you manage your treasury policies today? Concentration limits, FX thresholds, idle cash ceilings, that type of thing. Are those rules that are supposed to keep you safe? How are you guys tracking them? And as folks answer those, maybe we can answer another question here live. Moshe, I really like this one because I hear it all the time. It says, it is very difficult to stand before the CFO and say, the agent did it. It's not my mistake. We need to be able to explain how the agent operates. Can you please explain how the agent works?
Yeah, of course. So this is like a guideline we have for everything we're building on the agents. The agent is not a black box. You just get a number and that's it. That's actually the old word. When you use like a conventional TMS, what you have there usually when you referring to AI or ML, you just get a number with no explanation. You can never know like what's going on. You just get this is like the average. It's like the pattern the ML using to see with your history, and you just get a number. With AI, it's actually much better because our agents are all natural language bases. They have full reasoning about all the decisions that been made, and they have full transparency about all the calculation, everything behind the scenes. So if you just want to understand like how the agent got to a number, usually it will that didn't just give you a number, it actually explained to you how you get to that number. And you can also like dive in and actually expand, ask more questions and actually understand it with the agent, figure out if you actually trust it or not. And it's up to you to see whatever level you want within the calculations, but it's all open for you and the agents we are running within the system.
Thank you, Moshe. And another question I can field before we flip open the poll results. Question from Sabine said, what is being presented shows agents use case for deep dive reporting. Can you show agents that are more workflow oriented, such as created cash position, approval flows for payments, etc.? Yeah, we can. I think today we've got kind of four use cases we plan on going through. But if you want to see those specific kind of workflow oriented agents, uh, just reach out to us. I think there's going to be a QR code at the end, and we can schedule some time separately for you, or maybe have another session like this in a month where we can showcase those. And then
Yeah.
also just want to point everyone to the Q&A. There are 15 or so other answered questions. I think you guys can access those. So some of these questions I'm getting are duplicates of those. So maybe go through the answered questions if you wouldn't mind. Um, and seeing if there's something else there. But let's pull up the poll results real quick before we flip to the use case. Okay, so it looks like we've got 68% of you guys are managing these policies in a spreadsheet or PDF that you reviewed periodically. Some of you have it built into the TMS, and 17% of you said mostly in people's heads. Okay. Um, and then what policies? I got a couple of those. So nobody's judging you guys for that, but that's what we see everywhere, right? These policies, they exist somewhere, maybe in a board approved PDF, but enforcement is basically we check them when we remember. And that's the perfect setup for, I think, our last use case, um, which we'll pull up here shortly. So policies on paper, enforcement is reactive, and that's the reality for most teams. I think about it, your board approved a concentration limit that says, no more than 15 million at any single bank, and that's great. But is anyone actually watching balances across 12 accounts in real time to enforce that? Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe FX exposure creeps past your hedging trigger because the weekly review happens Thursday and the rate moved on Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So by the moment someone notices something's wrong, the risk has already materialized. And so, Moshe, there's a lot of pain here. I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about what that looks like and what the agents are watching for.
Yeah, so basically, I think this is one of the earliest use cases we actually started because we hear all the pain from the community and what's they actually desperate to have some automation that actually save the time and actually understand what's the policy is about and makes it like flexible enough to not trigger all the time, but actually help them to figure out when the cash it's too low or too high and how to delegate that. So we have like a few metrics which I'm going to show you in a second. We don't have too much time, so I will go quickly about it. But basically, we have idle cash. You want to make sure you don't have cash that's not working for you, and you want to move that to the right places. Bank concentration. You don't want to um, have a risk with some bank that all your funds is in one party and not spread around about multiple bank accounts. FX exposure, especially nowadays when USD dollars, it's like bounce around with other currency. You want to actually make sure you're expose yourself in a good way and not like have yourself exposed with other transaction that you build ahead for the future. Um, and many more. You will actually can see that in a second in the demo here. So let me quickly jump here for our liquidity dashboard. Um, yeah, well, let me show you one report that I generated just a few minutes before we joined this call. So basically what you can see here, first of all, automatically we're going to see like the metrics that pop out that require your attention. Those are the metrics that we build for each customer and teach the agent what you're the most care about. And then if anything is like above the target, you immediately get notified about it and even define with the agent what's the key actions to do afterwards. So just for examples, there's a few items that we can see here. We have like expected items. So for example, you have an entity which you want it to be within those range of like 6 to 7 million euros. But we are actually accessing your ERP data and we see because you have like some future payments down the line, the balance actually going to be lower and all that stuff. So we can give you like this notification ahead of time so you can prepare and actually move cash around so you'll be within this range before it's actually happen on your system. FX exposure, as we just discussed, if you don't want to have too much Canadian dollars within your bank accounts, you're going to set a target and then automatically going to see this flag out. And the most common and most useful one is like actually operating balance. We use agents to actually calculate what's the idle balance for each bank account. And we get a recommendation by the agent. And if you're above that, below that, you can actually get immediately attention about it and define how we want to address that. We use in both your history, the patterns you have in the past year, whatever that stay within your ERP data, and give you like the best recommendation of the target you should have within each account. We also have other metrics here, for example, free cash flow. This is a metric we know a lot of customers actually care about and want to calculate that every month, every week, every day even. So we can do that automatically for you and then alert you how it's progressed over the month so you can plan ahead and adjust your free cash flow. Payroll, this one is again a big one. Just make sure that you have enough cash before your pay date for your salaries. This saves a lot of pains for customers and make sure you have enough cash based on the historical payment you have for each bank account, or also you can just manually put the numbers you really know uh, the accounts there.
Okay, a couple more questions. I think I answered in the Q&A, um, but yeah, hoping I'm getting to the questions that you guys are asking. These are great questions. I appreciate it. But Moshe, thanks for sharing how we're doing that in the application today. Um, okay, big question. So this is the elephant in the room, right? Can I trust AI with my cash? Everything that we just showed you guys is compelling, but you're thinking, can I actually trust AI? And I think one of the questions alluded to this. And it's a fair question. You operate in regulated environments, whether it's SOX, FDIC, SEC, etc. The fear isn't that AI gets it wrong, it's that AI gets it wrong in a way you can't explain to auditors or the board. So here's what I'd say from a to demand from any vendor in this space, whether it's us or somebody else. There's kind of three non-negotiable properties. First is explainability. Every decision should show its reasoning. Driver attribution, confidence scores, no black box. If the AI can't explain why it did something, it should not be doing it. Second is reversibility. Every action should be holdable or rollable before execution. And then the third is auditability, a full chain of thought logs, SOX compliant audit trails, etc. If a vendor cannot show you these three things, I would walk away. And you've seen Moshe talk about this and seen some of it live, but this is how we built Nilus from day one. SOC 2, Type 2, NIST, AI, RMF, ISO, etc. But more importantly, the human in the loop is non-negotiable. Someone asked a question about letting an agent move money or submit payments or something like that. The short answer is you set the policy, the agent operates within it, nothing executes without your approval. So you don't trust the AI, so to speak, you trust the math, and you can see the math. Um, Anything you would add to that, Moshe?
Yeah, I think it's quite accurate. I think what we're trying to do is like to save you as much as time you can and actually follow your guidelines and whatever you do like on daily basis. But still, you will need to have the approval and the last method doing the call. We try to embed that within all the system and all the everything we have, everything is stored in history. You can catch it up and see what happened behind the scenes for stuff that happened today and a week ago, a month ago, and always like back propagate and understand what's going on there. And as you said, like human in the loop and the ability to actually change and approval whatever you want there. It's the key guidance for us.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's come back to where we started, right? It's Monday morning, board meetings Thursday, the PE sponsor wants the 13-week rolling cash forecast by end of day, whatever. And now imagine your cash position was consolidated before you even got to your desk. The two downside scenarios were already stress tested for the board deck. Last week's variance was explained with the root causes, and the forward forecast is already adjusted. And then the $2 million in idle cash was flagged across three different entities with a proposed sweep waiting for your approval. You didn't build any of that, you governed it. And that's the shift. That's what agentic means in practice. And so, to go to the next slide, if any of this got you thinking about your own workflows, I mean, we'd love to keep the conversation um, going. The slide mentions a proof demo. That's basically us configuring everything you saw today against your data structure and in banks. So you can see what it looks like in your world, not in ours, not in this kind of canned demo environment. There's a QR code on screen if that's interesting, or just reply to the follow-up email, and our team will get you set up. Um, I think I got to all the questions. Let me just double check to see if there weren't any that came through late we can answer. Um, yeah, it looks like there were two more, Moshe. I'm going to read them to you. Do you mind if we get to these before we wrap?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so the first one here came from George. What is the source for the FX rates? Can those be synced with the ERP?
Yeah, of course. So basically, what we're doing, we're connecting multiple data sources for FX, and each account can be configured like which better source you want for different FX. So each currency can have different source, whatever you trust, and it's fully configurable.
And then how does the agent pull data in from the ERP and can it write back to the ERP for reconciliation?
Yeah, so we are connecting directly to the ERP through API. We collecting the data on the through webhook, so we get like immediately every change that happened within the ERP data, we get it automatically within Nilus. And we also can start pushing data back to the ERP again with human approval and everything. There we just pushing back to the ERP to have the consideration process work end to end for you and make sure you can leverage agents to do this workflow as well.
And the last question I'm seeing here is what's the difference between using Looker BigQuery for analytics versus what seems to be all-in-one in Nilus?
Yeah, so I think we touched this question before. This is the same like using Claude without all the context and all the data we have within the scene. You actually need to set up everything by yourself. You need to repeat yourself all the time. Doesn't understand the context as Nihilus understand it, and then the result is much better in Nihilus compared to everything else. You can imagine that the best example is like uh, what will be the result of a treasurer that's already know the accounts and work with them like for a full year than someone that just saw that in the last 5 minutes. The output and the results going to be completely different.
Yeah. Um, okay, and then there was actually one question that came in the webinar chat instead of the Q&A. It says, if revenue increases, very likely commissions will go up next month. how are these kinds of situations modeled?
Yeah. So this is something that the agent will learn from you over time. It start by common sense and start to understand like okay, which categories represent which transactions that build each category, and then understand this correlation between all those. And but also this is something that humans in the loop will help to improve the system over time. We don't want the agent just to guess everything that happened there. We actually want to capture the knowledge you have within the organization and store it within the agent so we can actually understand those connections between the categories and leverage that. We don't want to replace the humans or do anything like automatically as a black box. We actually want to capture this knowledge and actually do everything faster and much more efficient.
Yes, and then the last thing I'll say is I answered this in a question earlier. Um, I'm going to put it in the chat for everyone. There's a link here. If you're interested in understanding a little bit more of like outside of the four that we walked through today, but what other types of workflows we have built agents for in the past, or what other types of workflows we can build agents for, click that link and go through the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly views, and you'll see kind of a world of possibilities on what can be automatable and what we can help you with. Um, but okay, I think that's
Yeah,
it on the Q&A side. Thanks everyone for joining, and we really appreciate your time. Again, my name is Eric De La Fuente. I'm the VP of Sales and Partnerships here at Nilus, and Moshe, our head of AI. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. Feel free to reach out, scan the QR code, or respond to the follow-up email. Thanks again.
yeah. Thank you very much.